You're listening to The Low and No Show, a podcast that tells the inspiring stories from brands and the founders. My name is Johnny Stevens, the founder of Better Without, the app that helps people discover low and no drinks. I'm sitting down with guests to hear their stories, learn about their products, and the lessons they've learned. Hello and welcome to another episode. I'm here today with David from Nocktails. Now, I hope you've been enjoying the previous episodes. Today, we're going to take it into a slightly different category. So we're going to go into the ready-to-drink cocktail market. So, hello, David.
Hi, thanks very much for having me. Nice to see you again, obviously. It feels like ages ago since we last spoke, but I don't actually think it was that long ago, was it? It was kind of back in sort of early December or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was just before the app launched. Yeah, I think it was just before the app launch, and we've been saying that we're going to meet in person, but it keeps going back.
Yeah. No, I've got it in my diary for 2023 or something. So, yeah, we'll
I'm hoping it's before then.
Yeah.
So it'd be really good to just introduce yourself and introduce the brand.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, as you already mentioned, my name's David. I'm the founder of Nocktail, ready to drink, non-alcoholic cocktails in a can. Got two flavors at the moment. We've got mojito and strawberry daiquiri. Kind of the aim of what we kind of wanted to do with the business was reinvent the mocktail for the more mindful and health conscious consumer. So we used natural botanicals, extracts, spices, and really exciting ingredients to recreate those really satisfying sensations you would expect and want from a real alcoholic cocktail, just minus the alcohol. So it's kind of taking inspiration from kind of what people were doing with the distilled spirits and everything by using all of these interesting processes and ingredients to recreate those flavors. What I kind of was seeing with the whole mocktail category, if that's what you want to call it, was all of these products that were coming out were very simple and really high in sugar and weren't delivering that same experience. It was just a basic sort of sugary, sweet fruit juice, and it wasn't doing what all of the products in the category were trying to replicate. So I saw a massive gap for that and thought, you know what, why not? Let's do it.
Amazing. And I'm correct in saying you left uni, was it last year or year before? And this is sort of first.
So it was March last year. So they basically cut off our uni sort of 3 months short, and we're basically like, right, everyone go home, we'll give you your grade and just forget this ever existed and just go get on with your lives, and like let's just move on, sort of thing. It was a super sort of weird time because I still haven't had my graduation. That like all of that was postponed. Like just a super weird way to end. Like you didn't get to say goodbye to any of your friends. Everyone just kind of went home, and like we haven't seen each other since. So it was super like weird way to end kind of a university experience. But yeah, no, kind of I always wanted to start a business after I finished uni, and kind of if anything it just gave me that little bit more time to kind of just get going, really. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So when did you come up with the idea?
So the idea was kind of churning for maybe a year prior to a year and a half prior to launching back in July. So kind of to give a little bit more context, as part of my sort of uni degree, I did a placement year working at Danone. So like Danone, like those people, like they do like Activia yogurt and like Evian water, Evolve, all of that, and like loads of like household brands that everyone knows. But I basically joined there. It was called the Manifesto Innovation Accelerator. It was kind of their internal innovation accelerator team thing, like all of those cool buzzwords. Basically, the role of it was to come up with new challenger startup brands and kind of test and learn them in the market, and then hopefully launch them sort of phase by phase. And kind of it was just like a really interesting way of sort of internalizing that whole sort of challenger brand mentality into like a corporate perspective. Something that is still, I think, a massive challenge in that whole corporate world is finding a way to kind of compete with these really exciting, innovational new startups, and kind of having and building that same mentality and structure into a corporate organization. So that was kind of the whole aim of that whole team. And I had so much experience working on some really exciting sort of challenger food and drink brands in there. Did that for 14 months, and kind of gained a lot of experience in that space and met some sort of amazing people, and had a really good time. And like I said, I always had this vision of starting a business when I finished uni. I wasn't too sure about what that was going to be, but kind of when I had that experience in Danone, I kind of fell in love with the whole food and drink space, and was kind of always on top of all of the trends. And one of those things that kind of really came to my sort of forefront was this whole no and low movement that was happening. I mean, this was back in sort of summer of 2018. So it was kind of when no-low was starting to become a little bit more exciting, and there was a lot of traction going in the category. Still very, very new, but kind of it was getting to that stage where there was lots more innovations coming through. So I kind of saw that, and I sort of started diving into a lot of reports and sort of analysis about the category. And kind of when I was looking at all of the facts and the stats from like Nielsen and Kantar and all of those interesting companies, what I noticed was the people that were driving the growth of the category was people like myself, Gen Z millennials, people who weren't necessarily kind of turning to the category for the reasons that you would expect people to choose not to drink alcohol. Like maybe they had problems with alcohol in the past, it was more pregnancy reasons or religious reasons. Like the people who were actually driving the growth were people who were coming from more holistical, sort of mindful, well-balanced lifestyle reasons. But when I was looking at the products that were coming through and sitting on the shelf and whatever, I realized that they weren't actually being catered or speaking to that type of demographic. Like it was kind of the hot names around them were like Seedlip and so forth, and they had this very premium and luxury branding, quite a high buy-in if you were a young person and you were looking at a bottle of non-alcoholic spirit and it was 26 quid, and you weren't it was difficult to kind of see that value, especially if the brand wasn't actually speaking to you. So I saw this massive opportunity to create a product that was actually speaking to the people driving growth for the category. And it was around the same time as well. Like it was my last year of uni. I've been through this whole sort of social binge drinking culture at university, and I was just so done with it, and I really wanted to change my whole personal attitude around drinking and really kind of focus on my life and become more productive. And one of the ways that I chose to do that was to kind of just reevaluate my relationship with alcohol. And it was around the same time that I was discovering this whole new amazing and fascinating category from a business perspective. So it was kind of a really interesting sort of equilibrium of inspiration of personal and business
absolutely
of interest. And I just, like I said, I just kind of went in and thought, okay, this is an amazing opportunity from a personal and business perspective, let's just go for it. So I obviously had a category that I was really passionate about and really kind of excited about as well. And it was now kind of the time to find the right product that was speaking to those people that I saw the opportunity in. And one of those things was like cocktails or mocktails, because they're fun, it's exciting. Like the thing that I wanted to do with a brand was to create a really fun, vibrant brand that kind of completely disrupted all of the products that were currently kind of taking all of the conversations in the category. So I thought a great thing that you could do was cocktails. And like I sort of mentioned earlier, when I was looking at all of the mocktails on the market, they were all these very simple, really sugary drinks that didn't replicate that same satisfying experience you'd expect from a real alcoholic cocktail. And I saw a massive gap to create and reinvent the concept of a mocktail for that more mindful Gen Z millennial consumer. So kind of I came up with the name Nocktail, and the rest is
a clever name. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of got lucky, to be honest. It's the most simple name. I was like, okay, I'm reinventing the mocktail. Nocktail, non-alcoholic cocktail, super simple. Went on like GoDaddy, bought the domain from someone for like 90 quid. Went on Instagram, realized someone had it on Instagram. And what you can do on Instagram is a little trick. if someone's got a domain of yours that you want, and you can basically register a trademark, which I did. So I kind of got the Nocktail trademark in the UK, and then I basically filed like a dispute with Instagram to say that this person was infringing my trademark, and Instagram basically transferred the Instagram username handle over to me. So I had this kind of really good foundations of a really sort of well-recognized brand and everything, and kind of I spent the next year basically just coming up with the brand identity, the packaging designs. We did our recipe development in following December, which we can go into, which was really, really exciting. What we did is we invited Millie from the Sober God Society to come down to our recipe development day and co-create the drinks basically live on Instagram. So we were doing all of these kind of questions and kind of doing questions and answers with her community, saying, would you prefer a drink that was low in sugar, like low in calories? What flavors would you like? Where would you like to buy this product? Where, how much? Like all of these different kind of pieces of data that we were able to collect from the really engaged and niche community that we were targeting to really empower our decisions in terms of product distribution, price, like loads of different things, which we still kind of use today as our sort of foundations of what are the kind of the main fundamentals of the brand that we've created. So yeah, and then kind of like I said, at this time I was in my final year of university, so I was still kind of studying and trying to build a brand. And yeah, got to March, everything kind of switched off, and it was kind of just getting down to business then. And,
go then.
Almost a year later now, and yeah, it's gone pretty well so far.
Amazing. No, it has. And well, I mean, one of the things that definitely within the industry and a load of people comment on is how you've done your marketing. You know, I know it gets commented a lot about, you know, having the GIFs on Instagram and that kind of stuff. How is that your background in terms of coming up with those ideas, or if you work with a creative to do that?
So like my passion has always been around building brands and building creative brands that people can really engage with and really relate to. So I mean, I started my own business when I was 15. I started my own clothing line, and now I started producing music and kind of built a whole brand around this kind of artistry of my music, and sort of ended up DJing around the world and everything, which is sort of a whole another part of my life. But I've had this whole passion throughout my life of building brands and creating really highly visual, fun brands. And that's something that I really wanted to implement into Nocktail. Like I sort of mentioned, I wanted to create this really disruptive brand that was going against all of the sort of the brand norms that have been previously set in the industry. And one way to do that was to literally just tear up the rule book of the category and just create something that not only I enjoyed, but something that was going to be enjoyed by the people that we were going to be targeting. So God, I forgot what the question was. It was kind of just
it was around the branding.
The marketing. It was, So and that's kind of like I said, that's where I saw the opportunity for the brand, was creating something for that specific community, and kind of going against the brand, like the disruption kind of aspect again. Kind of the thing that I saw whilst I was working at Danone and kind of working on all of these brands and kind of just observing food and drink brands on social media is the people who do well on social media are the people who can entertain. Because people come to social media to be entertained, you know, and to be part of a community and to be part of a group and to kind of have that sort of social aspect. They don't come to be sold to, because I mean, social media is full of like influencers now. You get bombarded with ads every time you swipe, you see a new ad, and you're always being bombarded with someone trying to sell you something.
Yeah.
So if you're engaging with a brand that you love, and they suddenly come out and go, "Here's our non-alcoholic cocktail. We're low in sugar. Go buy us now." It's really unengaging, and people that's not what people come to your page for. So I wanted to sort of do all of our marketing around building a community and building sort of that really engaged space where people come for the community and they come for the mission and they come for the purpose, rather than coming for the products. And that's really what's empowered our whole strategy kind of going forward, and what's really sort of made us really stand out and it really makes a massive difference for us.
Yeah.
And then if people want to discover our products, then they kind of engage with our platform first and our community first, and then they click through to our website, and then they kind of enter our whole sort of funnel of discovering products. And I think that's a really important way of building brands. Like at the moment, is putting purpose first rather than product. So
yeah, well, and this year has thrown that whole, I suppose, normal channel of how you'd launch a product has just completely gone out the window, and what you've managed to do is capture that audience through the social channels, through the website, through the branding, and actually, you look at the brand and it's you wouldn't think it was a brand that only launched last year. It looks like it's got a lot of time put into that creativity.
No, because I mean that's what we've been focusing on literally for the past year. It's not so much been around sales, although sales obviously are important to building a successful business. It's been around building those creative foundations of building a really strong social, cultural impacted business that really has a powerful message behind it, and something that people can really connect to. And I think once you've got those really strong foundations, then you've got a lot of sort of space to kind of work with, and it's a lot easier to then go to a retailer or go to someone else to kind of sell your product once you've got those really solid foundations. And that's something I identified right from the start of building this whole thing. And like I said, it's something that I wouldn't change if I started all over again. So it's definitely a really, really important part of building a brand. Because I mean, like you said, during this whole past year of the pandemic, people's attention has completely changed from physical spaces to online. So if you can find a way to capture that online attention and convert that into your brand, then you're going to be winning every day of the week.
Yeah, I think with your brand, there's a real sense of wanting to order direct as well. I mean, it's that whole experience on the website and everything. You've really made it that actually people want to come to you, almost like sort of Nike and those type of, actually you want to buy direct because of the experience, because of everything you've got. It's not just about a shopping cart.
Yeah, no, of course. And that, like I said, I mean, you've hit the nail on the head in terms of our focus of what we've been working on for the past year is really about building that online experience and being able to kind of provide that consistent brand experience right from discovering us on social media, then following through onto our website and kind of making sure that brand consistency is there. And then from receiving your actual parcel, your nice pink box of Nocktail when it comes to your door, and making sure, like I said, that whole brand feel is completely consistent through that whole experience. And even when we transition to going into retail and so forth, making sure that same experience is transitioned from, if someone goes from social to retail, or from online to retail, or from retail to online, then those experiences all match each other. And I think that's a really, really important thing to building a really solid and really strong and powerful brand.
It is, and I think for me, it's now people look forward to a parcel arriving. It's something different in their day, and having something that's it's back to Apple. The excitement of opening an Apple product, whether it's a laptop or whatever. There's that theatre around the whole product, and as you say, if you can get that, it's brilliant. It's how do you transition that into retail, which is going to be, I suppose, one of the biggest challenges. And how, in terms of discussions with retail, and how have you found that? Obviously very early days in terms of only launching last July, but actually now more than ever the category is getting attention. So how have you found those conversations?
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. So I've probably had discussions with probably 3 out of the 4 top retailers now, and a lot of the comments that they say about the category are very, very consistent, and the kind of the way that they're behaving around the category and their whole strategy around the category is fairly consistent. But there are kind of some differentiations as well. Kind of one of the main things and kind of the key things that has really, really come back. I mean, there's probably 2 things actually. There's one, there's a massive conversation around value. So, and it's kind of a debate that is resurrected through no and low, like so much time, like people coming back saying, why would I pay £20 for a bottle of spirit when I can pay £12 for an alcoholic bottle of like the same thing? So there's obviously a lot of education to kind of go around about kind of the processes and sort of the ingredients and loads of different things. I mean, different products and different brands have different reasons why their prices may be higher than a bottle of spirits, whether that's the process or the ingredients or whatever. But like I said, when I've been speaking to retailers, the key thing that they've come back to is around value. Whether that's, I don't know, and I think it's difficult as well because we're an RTD product rather than spirit product, like a bottled spirit product, and a lot of the growth that they're seeing from the category is coming from the spirit bottles and beers and wines, and RTD is still a very, very small part of the category in terms of driving value, like in terms of annual sales for them. So then when you come to them with like a product that's like £2, so more expensive than actually like a canned alcoholic cocktail from some of the big brands that you know, it's really difficult for them to not only understand the product and to understand the sort of the price point of it, but to really kind of see that value. I mean, one of the conversations that I had with Tesco's is, I mean, the first question that they came back to me was, so what's the difference between your product and like a traditional adult soft drink? And it is really difficult to articulate because it's because it's, first of all, like I said, it's the ingredients that we use for, like the botanicals and the extracts and the spices we use to help replicate that taste of like an alcoholic drink. Like our ingredients are first of all quite expensive, but then secondly, the main difference isn't actually the products, it's the people who are shopping there and the products and the experiences that they're looking to buy into. And just by shopping in that different section in the store, shopping in the beer, wine and spirits aisle, in the no and low section as a replacement rather than going to the adult soft drink section, you're automatically buying into a different experience and a different occasion, you know. And that's what people want. People want to buy into that same experience that people are buying into when they drink an alcoholic drink. And that's where that's where the value in terms of added value comes in, is the type of customer. And that's really challenging to try and articulate because it's difficult to make people understand. So that's kind of one thing that's I think is got a lot of work to do in terms of, and I think it's something that they understand because obviously they've got a dedicated section in the store, and there is a specific type of consumer going there. But like
do you think that would change though in terms of when we're allowed out and when we're allowed for picnics and barbecues and everything? Actually, is a RTD product more relevant because actually, you know, you want it on a picnic, you're unlikely to want to take a spirit and a shaker and everything. So I wonder whether it will shift as the economy goes.
So that I mean, that's kind of on the same line as my argument is the fact, because it's such a new and raw category, the whole sort of aim of what we should be doing to grow the category is bringing new people in. And the only way to do that is to get people to trial and test new products on a smaller scale. So like an RTD that's £2 rather than buying into a product that you may or may not enjoy or like. And then you're going to lose that customer because they didn't enjoy their first experience. So that's kind of been my argument, and it's been challenging to convince people on that basis. But at the same time, like it's made us learn where these retailers see the opportunity and see their focus in terms of growth. So we've kind of not gone back to the drawing board, but we've basically fast-tracked some of our MPD development in terms of some of the formats that we're producing into kind of match up with the opportunities that they're presenting, basically, which is, I guess, one of the benefits of being a startup and being able to work flexibly and quickly and kind of
pivot
and everything. Exactly. Like we had that feedback on, that feedback that I just said from Sainsbury's on Friday. And over the weekend, we got our designer to basically do a mock-up of this new product format, went back to them on Monday morning, and I've literally got samples in production today.
Amazing.
So that ability to work really quickly and kind of be reactive and proactive to the market and to the feedback, which should hopefully do us a lot of good. Kind of going on sort of that whole retail side of things as well. One of the really interesting things that I'll just name drop what Tesco said was that where their whole business strategy around the category is in terms of driving growth is through big brands and well-recognized brands to drive sort of awareness because it's familiar and kind of bringing in new challenger brands that people may not have heard before or recognized isn't, from their perspective, isn't what's going to drive the category. Which, like I said, I have arguments against as well. I do completely understand as well. But it's kind of, I mean, they said that to us back in sort of October, November time. And since then, they've stuck to their word with kind of big brand launches from Gordon's. They tried the Guinness thing, but obviously that didn't go too well because obviously they had the recall. But I think it's an interesting, what are your opinions on that in terms of driving category growth through recognized brands rather than new exciting products?
It's interesting because it is so important. You know, we need the Heinekens of the world, you know, Budweiser sponsoring, Budweiser Zero sponsoring Super Bowl at the weekend. You know, that is a massive to put 0-0 on there and put their budget behind it. It can only help the growth of the category. You know, you need the Seedlips of the world and everything to actually, you know, carved out the path and everything. I think it will change. You know, I think certain retailers will, and you can see it already. You know, certain retailers are going for the brands that aren't necessarily those top brands, and I think every retailer's gonna have their different options, different views, and you know, obviously the big brands are also, you know, a lot of the big brands are alcohol brands as well. So you know, for them, I guess it gives them even more negotiating power in terms of, you know, taking more stock of both products. Exactly. But from a consumer point of view, people want choice. I mean, that's why there's lots of, you know, low and no stores opening up online, because people want that choice. And you know, you only need to look at Amazon, and you know, if I'm looking at a drink, most of the time the first place I'll go is to Amazon, and the reason being is they have such a good selection. It seems to be the place of choice for a lot of the brands, and I'm going to get it next day. So I think it is always that challenge for the main retailers of, you know, what do they put on their shelves. You know, the brands typically in something like Tesco's are the big brands, or are brands like Champion Cider that have got a recognised name behind it. And you know, I think it will. I don't think it's a negative. I think it will just take time to bring in some of those smaller.
Yeah, no, exactly, and that's kind of what Sainsbury's mentioned to us as well. Is the category just needs time. Or not the category, the RTD subsection of the category just needs a little bit more time to mature.
Because RTD in alcohol, RTD in an alcohol world is quite new. It's not been around for probably 5 years where it's sort of known.
Yeah, exactly. And kind of, I mean, the really interesting thing is in terms of the RTD that they do have in Sainsbury's, it basically reflects the best selling of what they have in their spirit sort of line, because people, like I said, they're kind of experimenting with these bottles, and then they're kind of buying back into something that they're already recognized into. So yeah, it's like super interesting. And I think kind of going back to that sort of hospitality thing, and kind of RTD, that's a really interesting thing to talk about as well. I've got a lot of experience with hospitality, but when I was speaking to people back in, I mean, it's really like, it was funny, like having loads of conversations back in sort of July with some hospitality people, some buyers, and they were just basically like, just come back in November when this is all blown over, you know, like our focus at the moment is kind of just keeping everyone safe, and we're not looking to bring in new products at the moment. Obviously, fast forward, we're still in July, still the same conversation, if not, it's probably a little bit worse now, to be honest. But kind of the main thing that they came back to me with as well with feedback is RTD and drinks, like all drinks and cans, are the worst performing like SKU or worst performing like product format in like a hospitality venue in terms of bringing in value. And that was the main thing that they said as well, was like, when you come back to us, when like everything's back to normal, think about how you can bring the most value to us. Because if you think about how mocktails are made or whatever in a hospitality venue, it's just, like I said, it's the same thing that I was trying to disrupt. It's just juice, some soda, and bang, like it's just it's and
high profit,
and high profit because it costs them probably less than 5p to make or something, you know, less than, I don't know, like probably a super cheap drink for them to make in really high margins. So I had to come there and like say, okay, we've got this can that's like £2 and like it's not appealing for them. So that was another thing for us to kind of go back to the drawing board and think, okay, how can we reformat our product to bring and deliver more value so we can get that opportunity of driving brand awareness through hospitality? Because at the moment it probably won't happen through a can format.
No, because I mean, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because typically, why does someone go for a cocktail? You know, they go for a cocktail. You know, a beer is quite simple. Either beer out of a bottle or out of a draft. That's quite simple. Wine, very similar. Cider, etc. But a cocktail, you'll order because either you want the theatre in the bar and you want to watch the bartender to make it, or you know that you're getting a freshly made drink. And I guess that is the challenge of, you know, how do you, I suppose, cater for that market? However, there is also, you know, hospitality is busy. It's, you know, typically high turnover. You know, ready to drink, maybe not in a can format or whatever, can work quite well because actually, you know, you haven't got to skill up a bartender. You know, a real professional bartender takes time. There's a lot of you know, there's a lot of time and experience that have gone into that. You know, you only need to look at, you know, the bartenders in something like Be at One. You know, they are masters at what they do, but that is not, you know, that is a cocktail bar. So the rest, there is a lot of other hospitality venues that actually, you know, need to get cocktails out fast. And there's brands that have obviously done that in the alcohol world. And it's how can you convince it? But I think as you say, your challenge is going to be that not even convincing, but the putting your case forward about this isn't just fruit juice. Exactly. And that's the problem.
And that's where the power that we have is the differentiation in the quality of the liquid and delivering that same experience. And it's kind of really honing in on the point of the point of our liquid isn't to be mixed with alcohol. I mean, although people, like, you can do it if you want to, like, go for it. Like, we do have a lot of people who do buy our drinks as mixes with alcohol, which is interesting because, like, we've got a massive, all of our messaging on the can is all about sort of mindful drinking and sort of sobriety and kind of whatever it's like, like whatever. But each to their own. Like, cool. I'm not judging or whatever. Where was I going with that? But yeah, the purpose of kind of how we created the liquid was for it not to be mixed with alcohol, because the whole point of it was to deliver that experience that alcohol can deliver. So I think that's where the value of our drink does stand. And like I said, when we go back into hospitality, once everything starts to gear back up, those are the two things that we're really honing in on, is delivering value through price, but also in terms of convenience, not from a can format, but in terms of how quick we can create a drink and how quickly they can serve it to their customers.
Because the profit typically on a cocktail obviously is very, very good. and it's interesting because on a, as you said earlier, actually sometimes the no and low products are even more than the alcohol brands, and there's all reasoning behind that. But actually, when I speak to a lot of people, a lot of consumers, they're happy to pay the price. They're not, just because it's a non-alcoholic drink, they're not expecting it to be less. And that's where I guess there's a shift away from, this isn't just an orange and lemonade. This is a completely different style product that actually you can, and for you, it's going, giving suggested servings in terms of how do you garnish it and everything, because that often is as well the theatre of a cocktail.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, the way that I try to articulate that whole concept when I speak to people and buyers or whatever is kind of comparing it to milk. I don't know, just kind of go with me on this. It's like you've got normal cow's milk, which is kind of, let's compare that to like alcohol. But then you have like almond milk or oat milk, which is kind of no and low. It's all about delivering like the same experience, but people pay a premium for the oat milk or the almond milk because they're paying not to have something, or they're paying for it. What you're paying for, like I said, it's going back to, you're not paying for the product itself, you're paying for the experience that delivers you on a personal level. So like I said, it's the same. It's basically the same thing. Yeah. But
it's like Beyond Meat.
To articulate that. Yeah. No, exactly. And I use veganism, the whole vegan movement, as a comparison to the whole no movement as well. When I speak to people about it, is kind of veganism when it started, like it's always been a thing. Yeah. But like when it started to become like a thing that was sort of more mainstream, the people who were vegan were like animal cruelty activists or climate change activists, or people who really have to have a purpose and a reason to be vegan, and that's kind of what sort of no and low was sort of back in the day, like not back in like 5, 10, even longer ago. Yeah. When with like the Beck's Blues and whatever, you had to have a reason to not drink alcohol, whether that was you were pregnant, religious reasons, you were driving, or you had like a problem with alcohol in the past and you're going through like a very serious thing in your life. And those were like, you had to have a reason. But now what no and low is evolving into, just like what veganism did, is it's becoming a mainstream thing where, it is cool to not eat meat, or it's cool not to drink, it's kind of hit that mainstream level where it's like an empowering thing to do. And it's kind of, you do it not for the sort of political reasons or whatever, but you do it for more so just kind of lifestyle reasons. And it get a trend like that gets to a point where it does become cool to do the opposite, if that makes sense. Like, it's cooler to drink oat milk than it is to drink cow's milk. It's cooler to not drink alcohol. And that's kind of what we're trying to kind of just catapult with our brand, is creating that really empowering thing to empower people to say, you know what, you can actually have fun without alcohol. And building a brand that delivers that message and that purpose and that mission is something we're working really, really hard to do. And I think that's the way that's going to grow the category, like how veganism grew, is by making it that mainstream sort of aspect of just empowerment, really. So
and do you think you will crack into the likes of universities? Do you think students' mentality will change and go, actually, let's just have fun with drinking Nocktail or a non-alcoholic beer?
Like, it is like a really interesting one, because it's kind of contradictory, because like I talk about kind of the growth coming from Gen Z and millennials, but from my personal experience at university, I didn't see any like mindful drinking at all. Like it's not so that might have changed like drastically in the 2 years that I haven't been at uni, because like I said, the category has changed and people's behaviors with drinking has dramatically changed in the past year, if not the last 2 years. But like I said, I think where kind of the audience becomes the most captivating is when people kind of leave university.
I was going to say when they want to change.
Yeah, no, exactly. And they move on to sort of different things, and they want to kind of build on their own selves and so forth. But the thing that's interesting as well is like so going back to saying the growth is coming from Gen Z and millennial people, and we've built our whole brand around that. A lot of our customers online aren't actually those people as well, but they still are receptive to the brand that we've created, which is really, really interesting because, like I said, even though the messaging and the purpose that we're trying to do is all around young people, like the older demographic understand it as well, which I think is really interesting and really powerful as well. Because kind of the influence of that messaging and that social impact that we're trying to kind of deliver, you kind of have that upward influence from kind of younger people and kind of delivering that to their parents. But then you also have that kind of downward influence as well, where like the parents are discovering us on Instagram, and then they feed that back into their kind of kids' lives, I guess. And it's like a really sort of interesting cyclical effect.
Yeah, absolutely. So. And you capture a real variety of people, and I think that's it's brilliant because, as you say, there's many reasons why someone doesn't want to drink, or maybe, as you say, don't even need a reason. It's just actually they enjoy, a non-alcoholic product, and that's what we've got to embrace. I mean, that's the whole thing that I'm about, is actually just taking that whole stigma away of not drinking, because actually there is great products out there, and I may as well go and enjoy the great products for what they are.
Yeah, completely.
And in terms of where you are, so launched July last year, have you scaled the team? Like what have you had to do to sort of launch it, really?
Yeah, so like you said, launched last year. I'm a solo founder, so kind of everything that you kind of see online, everything that we're doing has all been sort of myself. I mean, we use freelancers and so forth for some of our kind of design work and packaging and so forth. But everything else has been pretty sort of on the ground running with just kind of myself doing, like I said, MPD, sales, marketing, all the boring legal stuff, like just everything. It is overwhelming, at times, and I'm sure you can relate to it with building your app and doing the podcast and everything. There's only so much one person can do, and there's only so much value that one person can deliver with a business, especially one where you're trying to deliver a really strong, like I said, really strong purpose behind it. That can only be so powerful coming from one person. So yeah, quite recently, and I actually haven't announced it yet on LinkedIn or anything. So it's probably like an exclusive. But we've recently just brought on like a COO and a CMO. Basically just kind of beef out our team and bring a little bit more experience and some more diversity to the team, and just some kind of a new energy to kind of take the business to the next level and to kind of work towards our sort of scalability of a brand and kind of reach the milestones that we want to faster, basically. So it's a very, very exciting time for us.
And it's always, when a founder recognizes that, they need to bring in people, and it's not easy. I think it is admirable when you go actually to launch the vision that you want to do. You have to bring in the expertise, because none of us are perfect, and we are going to have weaknesses, and you've got to, if you can identify those weaknesses, you will come out miles stronger, because actually you can bring in the expertise and the people.
Yeah, no, of course. And like the kind of the harsh truth of like an FMCG brand as well is you need money to scale. There's only so much you can do kind of running a business off the back of personal savings. Like there's only, like, we have a massive vision of what we want to do, but that's only achievable if you kind of grow slowly and you follow like a really slow trajectory of growth and kind of reinvesting profits and so forth, which is it's obviously doable. But kind of in the way that we want to grow as a brand, that's only doable by sort of raising investment. And I mean, you've seen so many sort of food and drink brands in the past 1-2 years just raising phenomenal amounts of money, especially in the no space as well, which I think is really reassuring to kind of see that investors do recognize the potential and the growth of the category and where it will eventually be. So that's kind of another reason for bringing on this team as well, is to kind of take us on a path, like an investment path, and kind of like I said, take us to the space where we can really start to grow in the sort of international and exciting way that we want to.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And it's an exciting journey. It sounds like you've got lots ahead and things to sort of look forward to, take where you want to take the brand. And in terms of people trying the product, where do they find you? Like how can they learn more?
Yeah, so the very best place is just nocktail.com. Just buying direct from us. Firstly, it's probably the best way to support any brand by purchasing direct through their own website. And you'll get the kind of the best Nocktail experience, in terms of going through that whole purchase process and kind of, like I said, delivering the customized box and in the post and everything. Because that's the very best way to kind of have the whole sort of Nocktail experience. Other than that, we're actually not currently on Amazon because we went out of stock with some of our flavors in the warehouse, so we're kind of still working on that. And we're kind of going through a little bit of a sort of a brand revamp with some of our sort of outer packaging and loads of stuff. And like there was some like cardboard. I don't know if you heard there was like a massive cardboard shortage.
Yeah,
probably due to like Amazon just buying all the cardboard. So we had like we went into like a production run a couple of weeks back, and our boxes couldn't arrive in time because they couldn't, like, our outer packaging wasn't going into production because there was no cardboard. So there's kind of like a few things that kind of set us back a little bit in terms of getting our flavor back online. But they should be getting labeled today, actually, our mojitos. So we should be back in stock hopefully tomorrow afternoonish. So
by the time this comes out, we'll be weighing.
we'll be flying, exactly. But nocktail.com, or if you want to follow us on Instagram at Nocktail, Nocktail, cocktail, but with an N.
I love it. That's brilliant. Look, I really appreciate your time, and thank you for sharing the stories, being honest about some of the challenges, and we look forward to tracking your journey.
Yeah, no, definitely. Likewise with you guys as well. I think it's really cool, like what you're doing in terms of the app. It's definitely something that's needed in the space, not only to just drive awareness, but to just, like I said, just building the category and everything. Is something that's, first of all, it's just really, really, really important.
No, thank you.
If we're going to take it to where it can go, because I think it's something that Fern mentioned on I kind of caught a glimpse of a comment that she made on the videos. Sometimes you feel like you're late to the party as a brand, but it's literally only just the beginning of it, and like there's still a very niche customer who is entering the category, and there's a massive opportunity for this to go to a more mainstream holistical type of customer, which I think is when it all starts to get exciting.
It's not going away.
No, 100% not.
No, that's brilliant. Well, thank you very much, David, again, and we will speak to you soon.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Catch up soon.
Thank you.